I'll skip things, you know. In my senior years, I'm beginning to forget where I am on things. Now, hornpipes, I don't know what the speed really was. I think a reel was originally faster than a hornpipe. And those are also hoedowns now, and there's so many of these you'll hear really, I think, more hornpipes than you do reels that have been sped up for the hoedowns. We'll play one. Let's see. What do you want to play? You want to play Fishers or?
Yeah, Fishers is okay.
Yeah,
if I play it.
Well, I'll keep up with you. Now you got to remember, all these people. It's always a challenge for an innocent person like me to get with these fiddlers because they all play differently. That's one of the hallmarks of this traditional fiddling, especially in the Ozarks, is these fellows all have their own style and their own speed to play these things, as long as it isn't way off, you know. And you have to just kind of adjust yourself to them, but you don't ever want to play louder than they do. You don't ever, I'm serious, you don't ever upstage these fiddlers. Now, I mean, you think opera singers are vain or so, you don't have any idea until you get around these fiddlers. I don't mean to talk about it.
I can't hear.
Incidentally, there was originally, Lacey and I have done these programs, but there was another fellow who wanted to do one. A fellow named Earl Ball from Humansville. Very good fiddler, isn't he? Really, and he's had a heart problem. He's in the hospital. So Lacey, I thank Lacey for jumping in here at the last minute and agreeing to fill in for him and everything. Now, let's play. This is Fisher's Hornpipe. It has nothing to do with fishing. People think it did. It's F-I-S-H-A-R. And the reason where this got its name is in the 1760s or 70s, there was a man named Fisher put out a book of tunes, and this was an unnamed tune. It became very popular. This played all over the country. And they just gave it his name, like they do so many tunes. And so this is Fisher's Hornpipe. It's in D.
Is that D?
We play it D, don't
Play
what used to be a hornpipe too. You want to play Billy in the Lowground?
Oh.
Or do you play that?
What's that in?
Billy?
Billy in the Lowground.
C?
That's the C.
Yeah. Do you play it?
Yeah.
All right.
We can try.
You can tell we practiced real hard for this.
Oh! After I play about 3 hours, I'll get so I can play a little bit.
just giving you, how many of you had a fiddler in your family? I mean, there's always a few. Now, you know, here's the thing, how times are changing. I give a lot of these programs at college classes and graduate classes, you know, even graduate students and stuff. And I'll ask that question, and they'll look at me like, why would we have a fiddler in our family? This is absolutely a different world for these people now. They have no more idea that this music even exists or its background or anything. The media has really taken us over. I mean, that's what they know. It's what the media tells them to know, you know. And it's a little different world than rap and some of this other screaming and stuff, you know. But there's no instrument that has the tradition and the musical heritage like this instrument right here. In fact, in Western civilization, it is second only to the human voice. You go Canada, you can go to Sweden, the Scandinavian countries have 10 times the fiddlers we have. Denmark, Germany, and you go to South America, look at your Mexican mariachi groups and all that. They all have violinists. They play them more differently, you know. And I was at the Smithsonian Festival one time, and there was a group of Indians from Ecuador, I think it was. And there they had was a little homemade fiddle, you know. Of course, that's a colonial instrument. But they were playing the thing. It was in their musical group, you know. So it's just it really has a lot of history to it. Well, let's see. What are we going to do here? Well, you have some fiddlers, people that have had fiddlers in their family. They've heard. You want to play Ragtime, Annie?
Yeah.
You play?
Oh, Raggedy.
Raggedy Ann. Now, this is one of your most popular. This and Wagner, and what else would be square dance tunes. These are really your most popular ones in the Ozarks that you'll hear.
Yeah, that's
Tennessee Wagner and.
That's killed more people dancing than anything.
Yeah, just about.
Kitty.
Regular fiddler's repertoire. Now, there's some of them. Somebody like incidentally, must introduce Lacey is from Joplin, and grew up with the fiddle, and got his background playing. If any of you are familiar with Joplin, do you ever remember West 7th Street? That was kind of like our Campbell Street was many, many years ago, and then moved on out to where the Little Reno Club was and some of those places. But West 7th was pretty much that way, and that's where Lacey got a lot of his experience, was playing in these clubs, you know. But he still played square dances and stuff. But anyway, I lost my, but they'll play these, even what we call a plug fiddler. Maybe he only plays 100 tunes. These fellows like this will play 300 and 400 tunes, and I know some of them even play 400 and 500, you know. And the things you sit around with, this is what I mean about like the mind. I don't know of any of them that read music, and I've been with groups and they say, well, you know, Uncle so-and-so played that just a little differently, and they'll play the, I can't tell any difference. They'll all nod their head, yeah. And Uncle so-and-so's been dead 50 years, you know, but they remember these things. Maybe you don't have anything else you think about. I know this is what it is. But anyway, another type of dance that you don't see anymore. Well, yeah, I mean, in the Ozarks, you don't. We never did have a 6/8 time jig, like the Irish jig, not like this river dance and all you see. Our jig dancing, now you go over to Douglas and Ozark County and you say you're clogging, and boy, you'll get told right away they're not clogging. Because see, clogging is what we all think of today, but clogging today is choreographed. It's taught line dancing. Whereas the Ozarks jig dancing, the same thing in the Appalachians, is a freestyle type of thing. And they always took great pride in having a certain step that was theirs, uniquely that family's or so. And there's still a lot of those over there, a lot of good ones. But anyway, these fiddlers will still play a jig, even though nobody dances it. What do you play? Irish Washerwoman? Do you play that?
I can't.
Oh, what are you playing? A jig? 6/8 time jig?
No, I play at Irish Washerwoman.
Let's
That's
do
a
that.
gig, ain't it?
That's in G. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll play that. You're all familiar with that. That's one you should be familiar with. I think.
If my arm will do it. We ready?
Yep. That's a jig. Now, another dance then that you'll still hear, and we just never really had it in the Ozarks, but any of you that are from North Missouri or North Kansas or from up in the Minnesota and Michigan and all that area is the schottisch, which is really a pretty dance. I don't know if any of you, a lot of you may have never seen them really dance the schottisch, but it's that 1, 2, 3 hop type thing. And it's not, you see those people up there, and mainly the Germans and the Scandinavians, and they just don't 1, 2, 3 hop. I mean, they have all sorts of configurations they go through. It's just really a pretty dance. It's a shame we've lost it. But it was a dance that was developed in Scotland, and when they started getting tired of it, Europe took it up, especially the Germans. Well, schottisch is German for Scottish. And then it came back to the British Isles and back over here, across the pond, as the old-timers used to say, and it retained the name schottisch. So, Will, you play a schottisch, I know. You got one of your
I play
own.
a couple of them, but,
Well,
see. What was that Rochester schottisch? How'd that go?
G, isn't it?
Did Lonnie play one called Tales from Home schottisch?
Yeah,
Tunes from
yeah,
Home?
Tunes from Home.
I don't know if I can remember one of them or not. It's been so long since I
Well, we can come back to that. We didn't
Okay.
have time to really go over these things. This is the further. Anyway, it's a pretty, we'll remember it in a minute. He'll pop in there in a minute. Because you played them before.
I'll tell
with
you.
him.
What is this? See? Ain't that a schottisch?
Yeah.
What's the name of that?
That's Tunes from Home, isn't it?
I think so. Let's try that.
I think there's probably a lot of natives here. You know, I get in some crowds and there'd be two hands go up, you know, because this area is changing. But Katie Batillo, I don't know if you remember Lonnie Robertson, who was really a great fiddler. He really was. In fact, after he passed away, I was reading, our first CD we did was of Lonnie. I played with him a number of years. And I was reading the liner notes to his widow, and she telling about how good he was and all that. She said, well, I never knew he was that good. But Lonnie brought that one. I think that was tunes. No, it may not have been. It may have been that Rochester.
I
But
think
anyway,
that's who I learned that from.
he brought that back from North Dakota, Yankton, North Dakota, when he was on the radio up there. And he learned it from a band that was on the radio, the program before theirs, and that was Lawrence Welk. But anyway, let's see. Well, now we'll get back into this century, into the 19th century. Boy, there's too many centuries got around now. Of course, this music, and of course you had the black influence in the South and everything. Those things began to mingle, and you had a change in our music. Nowadays, they always say, well, it was all the black. It wasn't all. It was a mixture of both, you know. They complemented each other, and there were a lot of black traditional musicians. We had them in the Ozarks here. But what happened is, just like with the whites, they got tired of starving out in the hills and moved into the town, and when they did that, their music changed. But the Ozark and over east of here were 4 or 5 well-known black fiddlers back in the late 1800s and early part of this century. And there's tunes named after them, Bud Price's tune and Tom Anderson's tune, that type of thing. But this music also evolved into a type of traveling show called the minstrels. And there's a whole type of music that came in with the minstrel tunes. And we'll play one that I have the sheet music. I can't read it, but my wife's cousin can, and she played it on the piano, and the music's exactly the same, and you all know it. And here we are, the music I have is 1836, I think. And here we are 170 years later almost, and it's still the same thing as Buffalo Gals. Now this is a tune that the story goes, well, these were the Daughters of Joy, as I heard them called one time, that lived along the Erie Canal when they were building that, and that's what they called it. But this was a tune that in every town, it was, if they were in Atlanta, it was Atlanta Gals. If they were in Cincinnati, it was Cincinnati Gals. But the one Buffalo hung on. So let's play Buffalo Gal. After I've talked, you better play Buffalo Gal.
I don't know, but I know it, but I can't play it. I don't know it. Oh, I'll try.
Buffalo Gals Joplin style, we'll call it then. And then, just before the Civil War, a dance came over from Europe that really took on, and of course it's still with us, is the waltz. And there are umpteen, it's amazing to me that in Branson, the only tune the public knows is Orange Blossom Special. And we seldom play Orange Blossom Special at all. It's just really an exercise. It's not really a tune. And there's all these beautiful tunes, these schottisches and these waltzes. And you know Over the Waves, don't you?
Yeah.
Over the Waves is, I'd say in Western civilization, is the most played waltz, more than any of the Vienna waltzes or anything, because it's played by the people. And you can go to any country in the world and they'll know this tune. Now, it was written by a Mexican school teacher named Rosa in about 1890, somewhere in there. And they came up, he's from Monterey, and he was in a band that came up to the Louisiana Exposition, which was 1898 or 1900 somewhere. And this tune really took on, and it spread all over, and within a decade it was played everywhere. And it's the national, it's Sol Las Olas, it's the national waltz of Mexico. But this is a real pretty waltz. And there's some movie came out in the 50s that they put words to it, and I've forgotten you'll probably remember what it is. It's a song now, but it's Over the Waves, I hope.
G,
Yeah, G.
Yeah.
Something like that was the song that came out. It was some movie or something. Well, let's see. Then, of course, the last part of the 1800s, all into this century, music evolved we call rags. And, watch my time here. You don't want to get too long on the thing here. We could go on all day if you tell us. But what rag do you play? You play Stone's rag, don't you? Or
Well, that's what they call Bob Wills.
that's Lone Star rag.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
get that
okay.
CD.
These tunes have all kinds of names. You can't believe them. And of course, you go from one holler to the next holler. The same tune will have a different name, but it's they didn't have really communication to unify these things. Just like there was a fiddler in Arkansas named Cotton Combs, who was absolutely one of the smoothest fiddlers you'd ever hear. He had a little problem with John Barleycorn, but you always hear, oh, he doesn't play good unless he's drunk. Well, usually the guy that's telling you that was drunk at the same time, because they don't sound any better at all. But some of them, maybe if they nip a little bit, do loosen up a bit. But he never quite got his names right. And there's a real pretty waltz called the Westphalia Waltz. It's very popular, but he didn't quite hear. And every time he got up to play that, he'd say, "I will now play you the West Sedalia Waltz." Oh, and there's Angus Campbell. which is a very old Scottish tune, real old. And over in Ozarks County, they call it Agnes Campbell. And Art and I were at a fiddle thing in Arkansas one time. The guy got up and said he was going to play Angus Cattle. And that's what he played. So you never know what you're going to hear on these names of these tunes. Well, let's play that Lone Star or Stone's Rag. Stone was a performer
I played that all
on
my life. Thought Bob Wills wrote it.
Well,
It was the Lone Star Rag. We played in Miami, you know, with Bob's brother jointly. We played, and they played it, and we played it. We always called it the Lone Star Rag. And I get up here, and it's a Stone's Rag. And
well, they still do it over in the western states. Stone was a fiddler on the Grand Ole Opry. That's what I said. They named these. They didn't know the name of it, so they named it after him. That's the C.
C.
To these days. They play a lot of pop tunes now. You'll hear, one I'm almost getting tired of playing is Ashokan's Farewell. That was with the Ken Burns series, you know, that was that tune. And then Amazing Grace you'll hear an awful lot. And you'll hear Over the Rainbow you'll hear a lot. And certain popular tunes now work their way, not really with the rock and roll stuff. You don't hear any of that, but our age stuff, you know, the old timers stuff and everything. Anybody have any requests they want to hear? Anybody think of a tune they might want to hear? Don't tell me you're like those students that Well, I think, how long have we been going here? I think we've gone long. We might well finish up one more. What do you want to play? Just anything.
I played that old Tommy Jackson number, that Uncle Joe, with the
Yeah,
Cotton Eye
G,
Joe.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
an
Cotton
A.
Eye Joe?
Uncle Joe. Remember, he played, that's what he called it.
No, that was in G. That's Cotton Eye Joe. Okay. Excuse us while we argue.
I think my E dropped a bit.
He said, this is happy music, and it really is. You look around, I've sat on many stages and looked out the audience, and you'll always see smiles. And I've never been to a concert where anybody was tapping their foot, but boy, you'll see them tap. This music just gets to you. I might quickly say what my role is here. This is a relatively late instrument to come into second. I'm a second, an accompanist. They call them seconds. And of course, there's been everything. Banjo was originally the instrument they used a lot, and anything they used to use. If I'd had them and brought them today, I'd have showed you fiddlesticks, which they used to beat on the fiddle. Just anything. What it is I'm helping him keep time. I'm a human metronome. That's exactly what it is. That's the only purpose I serve.
You have a set of those fiddlesticks?
I had a set and lost them. Don't know where they are. I had a good set guy carved down in Arkansas for me. They use broom stalls, what they usually use for it. But anyway, maybe you know a little bit more about this music now. So thank you a lot.
Did I say something here about my dad?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
He was talking about those fiddlesticks. My dad was born in Conway, Arkansas, and he was a good fiddle player, but they moved over around Fayetteville, and my mom went to, they had a homestead over there. My grandfather homesteaded over there, and they went one 4th of July down to Fort Smith, and Mom saw my dad the first time. He was riding on a mule-powered merry-go-round. He was playing the fiddle, and his buddy Oliver McCann was beating the strings with the sticks, and she said that's the first time she'd ever saw him in her life. He was playing on, riding a mule-powered merry-go-round, and he didn't even have a guitar with him, just the sticks. And Gordon was talking about those.
Yeah, well, all right, okay.
Well, I've never seen one. I have seen a mule-powered merry-go-round, though. Springfield. We used to play up there, and they had it. I got some pictures of it. I couldn't figure out how they made it work, but they were really good with that.
Melvin has a question here.
I want to know, was your father left-handed?
No, he wasn't, unfortunately.
Did he
I
have any
barely
left-handed
remember
teacher, or
him.
did you just
He
strictly-
died in 1935, but I can remember him a little bit playing the fiddle. But,
There's quite a few
other than
left-handed
that-
fiddlers, and quite a few women fiddlers. I'll tell you, I got a problem now. You know, every June I put on this next generation, these young fiddlers, and this year I had a hard time finding at least 3 boy fiddlers. It's all girls now. You're taking over everything. And this is the most sanctimonious thing. Yeah, I know. But I can't understand what it is. I think maybe boys are into sports or something now. I can't figure. But these girls are good fiddlers. Now, a lot of them are bluegrass fiddlers. This is not bluegrass, as you know, we played today. But some of them are really good fiddlers. My gosh. So
I'm
I'm going
scared
to have to
you get
change
around.
my views there later. Now we're finished.
I'm just trying to help your wife out here, actually,
Oh.
by getting you out here. He told me before the meeting, he said, I've got to get down to the lake right away because they're going to be delivering my wife's Christmas present. So if we can keep him too long, wrap up with
But they got us.
I
He said
can
he got a
hear,
new
but
set.
I understand.
He said he fly land on cotton with these new. Cost him an arm and a leg. So I asked him, I said, what kind were they? And he said, about 5 o'clock.
I'll tell you. You're kind of lost when you can't hear anything.
Lacey, can you hear your own music? You can't.
I
can't
barely, I could just almost just see him. That's about all I could do, just see him. I couldn't hear him. I got so in a habit of having a bass, really get right with me and really put it to me, then I could hear the music. If I play a fiddle contest, I need 2 guitars to crowd just as close to me as they can get and play just as hard as they can play. And then I can do all right. I can't, like this, I can't play. I need a bass stand over, and I'm playing to that bass, and I can hear it.
Well, you did.
In the
pretty good.
the
My
lower
bass
pitch.
decibels are all right, but my high ones are all
Yeah,
gone.
the lower pitch is like, yeah. Well, we certainly appreciate you filling in, like you said at the last minute. It's really special of you to do it. He bought you breakfast, didn't he, I hope?
No,
What's
I
that?
didn't want any, so I said fine. He ate it. He's already eaten, so.
Oh, okay.
Let me turn these up. Now I'm not playing. You can't turn them up with a fiddle. It just sounds like gravel.
I can hear it buzzing over here. My
Yeah.
mother wore a hearing
Yeah, I
aid.
can see your lips move.
Yeah.
There was an old fiddler from, any of you around Ozarks, or Nixa, any of you around Nixa, the Herndons, there's a whole ton of Herndons live down there. And Jude Herndon was just the finest old man. And by the time I met him, he was a friend of Art's, Galders, and he was just practically completely deaf. And by then, he couldn't play the fiddle anymore, but he was playing, he had a banjo he strung up to just play chords on. And what he'd do is he'd watch Art say, Jude, I'm going to play so-and-so, and Jude, okay, and he'd watch Art's foot. As soon as Art tapped that foot, he started seconding. And one time at my house, we were playing, and Art lost it or forgot or something, and we all quit. And Jude was looking down, and he went ahead and finished that whole. He was hearing it up here, in just exactly the same time, you know. So you compensate for these things. We'll get through. You got to get us off here. We can talk all day about all these things.
We'll take about a very short break, and we'll have a brief business.